Hi everyone, welcome to the Fireplace Whisperer studio. I want to go over a couple things here with our Jotul F602 version 3, and that is the heat shield as well as the outside air adapter. Jotul doesn't really show it real well in their manual, so I want to be able to walk you through the process and then show you what it looks like when it's all installed. Now in this box we have the heat shelf, or the heat shield itself, some instructions, the hardware kit. We're going to pull this out, get this box out of the way. Here we have instructions as well as a little hardware kit for the outside air. Now the outside air isn't used in every application, and the heat shield is not always used in every application. Some homeowners don't use either. Some homeowners will use the heat shield and not the outside air. Get this out of the way. But the heat shield, basically what it does is this is just going to sit on the back of the unit. It's going to create an airspace right here. If the stove sits here, it creates this airspace and it reduces the clearance to the back wall. So it allows you to get the unit closer to the wall. If you are not going to use this adapter, you would leave this knockout in place. You would just leave it as is, gets bolted to the unit through these top holes here. We'll do that in a minute so you can see that. If you are doing the outside air, which the outside air, we're just going to attach with a couple screws, and it's just going to live right here. Your tubing connects to this. You're going to run that to the exterior, and that's going to bring in the makeup air right to the back of the unit. Now they do have this gate valve here, so you can open and close that, which is a really nice feature. So we're going to walk you through the process of attaching both of these units onto the stove itself. And I'm going to knock this out here. I think I need two of these. It's fairly easy to get knocked out. So if I were doing it right here, I'm going to make a little noise. There we go. And then that, once it gets started, that just gets pulled out there. And since all of this is right here, I'm just going to go ahead and attach. Oh. Turn that around, line up the 4-inch hole right here. We have a pack of screws. Grab a drill. They give you this wing nut so that you can cinch this down and keep this slider in place. So if I wanted it open all the way, then you can cinch that down so it doesn't accidentally get closed. There it is. Now let's go to the stove and I'll show you how this attaches to the stove. A 10mm wrench will remove two nuts that are holding these bolts on here. So I have loosened one already, and this will come off, and then this little bolt gets removed. Here's our nut. long stud that comes in the kit with the heat shield is going to be inserted into here. And I see it. That comes through. We have a washer that goes on. And then the nut, this is gonna seal this plate back up because there's a gasket on there. This is where you would put this flue collar here and go out the back, which isn't as common. And if you did do that, the heat shield doesn't work in that application. But this is how they decided to attach the heat shield. And I think what I'm going to do is not tighten it all the way. I'm going to come to this other side and get this nut removed. Okay, there it is. A little bolt. Oh, there you can see that gasket there. So these little short bolts, they are not going to be reused. You can see there, fishing in this long stud on this side. Washer. And then nut. These get cinched up. That will seal this plate. Come on this side with the 10mm wrench. Snug up these nuts. Kind of bounce back and forth as I snug them up. Just going against that gasket. Okay, that's tight. These little bushings slip over like this. And then we have our heat shield will slip on. And it's basically just kind of hanging on these two studs here. So that slips over like that. You're going to reuse the nuts that you took off from inside there. Oh, there's the second one. Here we go. Almost done. So it's just tightening the shield against those two bushings. And that's what helps create that airspace. That airspace is what gives it that insulation value. So the temperature coming off the back of this heat shield is a lot cooler. That's what allows you to get it closer to the back wall. Well, this is it. It's all attached. It's fairly stout there. And then you just connect your 4-inch duct off of this. You either go through the floor or go through the wall to bring in fresh air. And I think the reason why they create this gate shut off here is that the cold air coming in, it just drops right through here. Just drops to the floor. And then the stove grabs the fresh air through the front door, through the little adjustment there. So when it's not in use and you don't want cold air just dropping into the room, that's where you can just shut this and the cold air stops right there. So I like that feature on there. All right, we'll clean up and give you a couple different camera angles on this so you have a good idea what this shield looks like on the Jotul F602 version 3. Thanks for watching.